A statement's come out this morning. You know him really well. He's become your Bezzy in rugby, and he's walking away from Salford, putting his trust in place. Can the game afford to lose people like Marwan? Because for his having a go at Nigel and his banter and all that, he's a very wealthy man with a great vision, a lot of passion, and for him to lose that energy in such a short space of time, it's alarming from my perspective.
The first thing to say about Marwan, he's a far more intelligent man than people give him credit for, including myself from the early days. You know, having got to know him, he's a very smart guy, and I'm very, very close to Marwan. So you know, I've been involved in talking to him. He picked me up off the floor after the OKR one, not because we lost to OKR and I thought that was the end of our chances in Super League, just because of the way we lost that game. I kind of lost my desire to put money into it, and that's the danger. And I think there's a combination of that. I was with him at the game against St Helens, and you know, not criticising James Child here, but Marwan was frustrated with that and has been a number of times. And that's not the reason. Ultimately, it's a combination, and he has sort of, you know, lost some desire for it, and then obviously the fans that have dwindled, and you know, whether he shares some of that burden for some of the things he's done. He might have done a little bit differently, but you know, he's having people offer to get involved and offer him money to rebrand his club. He's got people saying, why don't you take the franchise somewhere else, or to Bradford, or you know, and ultimately he cares about whatever people think in Salford. I can tell you now, 100% he cares about Salford and the people there, and he wants to see it do well. But he's made it £5 entry. He's made it free entry. Yeah. He's made it make a donation off the back of a charity from the disaster at the arena and come in for free. He's brought, you know, big players in, record transfer fees. Even this year, you know, they finished fourth in the regular season. They got a Challenge Cup semi-final, and the crowds are getting less and less. You know, some of that might be the uncertainty around this branding and stuff. Some of the fans will say that. But ultimately, he's got to a point where he actually thinks he needs to fall on his sword, because he regards getting your money back. He's more chance of turning, you know, water into wine, which if he could do that, he'd save a fortune, because he likes a drink, does Marwan. Or, you know, platin sawdust is another one. But so he knows that the money was the money. But he believes that by stepping back and letting some local business people take it forward, in conjunction with the fans, that the fans, there's more chance of the fans coming back and supporting the club, because they need to. Because one of the things, what naive, I'm going to use the word naive of myself, and maybe someone like Marwan, is we'll come into a club, right? And we used to have an organisation, which it still exists, called LISA, Leigh Independent Supporters Association. It was set up in the first instance when the club was in a perilous position. Everybody rallied because they care and they need to. But all of a sudden, when you get some geezer walking in, you know, he's a multi-millionaire and just starts waving his cash about buying this, that, and the other, there's no sort of like need to those people, or they don't feel as important to have to rally to do that.
Rally to get around.
And I think as long as Marwan is there, there'll always be that.
Well, he can pay. Well, he can pay.
He can do it, and he will do it, and he has done it. And so there's less and less fans, and I think Salford will always be a big club. I think it's a massive loss. I hope he does spend some time away. He's got his horse racing. He's got his hotel.
Could we see a joint venture with Derek Beaumont in the future?
But one thing's for sure, my friendship with Marwan will go on, because it's not just concerning rugby. I've become good friends with him. My wife gets on well with Mandy, and my children get on well with his children. So we go to the races quite a bit with him, which we enjoy. Been to his house, you know. We're planning on going away somewhere together. So we share things. I could certainly see myself. A lot of people think, like, you know, we're very individual. I could see myself getting involved in some kind of business concept if one came along with Marwan. I think he's got a lot still to offer to rugby. I think he said in the release I read, he's a custodian of the club. I'm only a custodian of this club. So ultimately, if down the line it was in the best interests of Leigh Centurions for Marwan to get involved with me and chuck money in, and we could get your Koufaxes of this world and stuff, because we was both putting £1 million in or whatever, you know, and saying, right, let's have a real crack before 2021. If I felt having Marwan Koukash here gave me a better chance of achieving my dream of walking out at Wembley, and I walked out with him at the side of me instead of my own, then damn right I'd do that. But you know, whether that's something he'd want to do, whether he'd always feel still a lead to Salford, I don't know. I think he needs to be left alone.
Yeah.
And I think he needs to, because there'll be a lot of attention around it. He's quite smart, Marwan. He's probably chose now to do it while there's a lot of focus on other things. Because if you let the grand final get out of the way and this game get out of the way, you guys haven't got a lot going on. So all of a sudden, that's like a magnet. It'll still be big news anyway, but I think it can be diluted a bit. And over the next 2 weeks, while the sport's busy, he can have some time away. And then probably when there is some spaces to fill, he can talk about how he feels.